How's it going, everybody? GSM Pilot here. We're gonna do a fun little flight that I do every once in a while. And we're at Talkeetna, Alaska, at the airport. Looking very nice. I believe this is a freeware scenery you can get on the org. Beautiful. And we are going to take some mountain climbers to Denali. So we're gonna go to Denali base camp today. Standard air taxi from Talkeetna. So let's get her started. We're ready. All right. Let's get inside. Let me reset my track hour. And I'm going to pause that for a second. Oh, wrong button. All right. There we go. A little bit tired tonight. I don't know why. So trying to get a flight in. I haven't flown in a long time. Probably about 5 days. Actually, since my last stream, which was, I think, Saturday? Friday or Saturday? So it's been a little bit. Alright, I want to make sure that that got corrected. Okay, that's good. Alright, beautiful. We're in the Milviz Turbo Otter. I don't think I've even seen. I think the yoke's gone too much when I'm flying that I have not even seen how beautiful that yoke looks. That's nice. Alright, we're getting it. I have mapped some of my controls on here. Some of them I cannot find. Like I cannot find where the preheater is linked to, so I can't source that one. But we'll get everything else going. So we're gonna have better come on. I might be a little bit out of sequence. I got my checklist right here, but I'm kind of gonna wing this one. Just kind of go through this flight. All right, everything's good. All right, everything's mapped. All right, that's good. All right, safety wedge in place there. Invert on. Alright, so we got power on, beacon and taxi, beacon and nav on. It's a little bit different on this one, so if you go with the normal nav light X-plane switch, it won't change it. So I haven't found the mapping for that one yet, so nav is on, beacon's on, that one's good. Let me think here. Okay, so we need to go boost pump till light goes off. Okay. Forward boost pump till light goes off. Alright, we're all set there. Prop lever full forward. Heater. Heater is on. Alright, so we got ignition. And let's go. Oh. Heating, make sure all cool. Alright, it's all cool. So, here we go. Starter coming on. Waiting for 15%. Alright, light it. Alright, sounds a little bit low right now. I'll bring them up just a little bit. Alright, sounds good. Alright, we're going to wait for our engines to stabilize. Alright. Alright, starter can come off. Ignition can come off. I have not read in the checklist very well. I'm not catching it in the checklist in the Milviz operation of when the heater should come off. I would assume the heater is going to come off after everything's operating. And then I think I did see something about having the heater on or the ignition on in moist or rainy conditions kind of deal. So I'll have to probably read up on that a little bit more. Alright, so we got all that set. We're going to need a course here. So there's really is pretty much a VFR operation to get to where we're going. We're going to follow a little bit of a glacier, but the direct routing is going to be off the Talkeetna VOR. It's going to be 304. So we're going to set that. First, we're going to set our compass. So we're almost dead north. And yeah, so before I get a bunch of comments about it, I know I can hit the button to set it, but I try to go at least as realistic as I possibly can. Also gonna need to get the weather. Alright, we'll put it right there. Let's get the weather. 135.2. Oh, avionics can come on. Alright, we're gonna go VFR, go standby VFR. Alright, 135.2. Alright, let's get the weather. Wind light and variable. 3013.
Temperature 21. Dew point -18. Altimeter 3013.
Alright, there we are. Kind of in the middle there. Alright, light and visible, light and variable. So we'll probably depart,
Visibility more than 10.
I'm gonna take a look here.
Temperature 21. Dew point -18. Altimeter 3013.
So we're probably gonna depart 1. Alright, we'll depart 1. Let's get that VOR set up. So Talkeetna VOR is 116.2.
Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 21. Dew point -18. Altimeter 30.
Alright, we got that plugged in, and we're looking for a radial on departure of 304. We're not necessarily going to follow that. It's just more or less an indication of where we need to go.
Wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 21. Dew point -18. Altimeter 3013.
Alright. Alright, we got it set. I also want to set my heading bug to that. We'll probably go at a 30 heading going out. We're also going to head up to 8,500 to make it over the mountains. Okay. Right. Alright, tracker's coming back on. I'm going to dump the ATIS. So that's done. Kind of make sure that I got my setting the way I like it. It's looking good. Alright, taxi light's coming on. No need for pitot heat. 20. It's warm. Alright, make sure everything's good. Alright, brakes released, and let's head on out. We do have the skis on the plane. Didn't catch that at the beginning. So long. I really like the how this tail dragger feels. It's really it's fluid. Very happy about that. Kind of want to like lean over here and get set more center. All right. Nice PBR on the cement here. Yeah, a little wide on that turn. Oh, really wide. Wow. Misjudged that turn. It was not a very good turn. Alright, so we don't put any flaps down based on the manual. Definitely don't put any flaps down on taxi. It gives you a little bit more control on taxi. Alright. Alright, everything looks good. I want to reset my DME. Alright. Make the turn here. Alright, holding short. Alright, making our checks. Transponder on. Lane on, taxi off. Everything's green. Heater, we'll turn that on so everybody starts warming up. Feel like I got everything. Oh, trim. Trim is hard to see with track hour. I gotta adjust that so I can see down there. Some head movements I'll get it, and then some head movements I don't. So I'm gonna set that right there. All right, track hour back on. On scroll. All right. Go over here. Talkeetna traffic. Twin Otter departing runway 1 to the west. Talkeetna traffic. Okay, let's pull that back a little bit here. Get lined up. Alright. Oh, went to landing. Need to get to takeoff. Tail wheel lock is on. Oh. Alright. Alright, that's it. Max power to 60% torque. $65, I mean. Alright, and rotate at 60. And we're up. Beautiful. We're pretty heavy. I did fill it with max passengers and 50% fuel. I'm gonna trim down a little bit. Let's go to climb. And we'll pitch this for pitch this for 80. We're gonna make our turn. Let's coordinate that turn. Alright, so I'm gonna get those props in to 2000 and make sure we don't spike up on torque, but we're good. Alright, so we're going for 8.5. We need it to get over the mountain ridge. So we're gonna just track west for now. And very slow. It must be really, really heavy. Heavier than I was expecting. She definitely feels heavy right now. So trying to identify some of our VFR landmarks. So we're going over the river as we speak. So that's one mark that you're always going to have. Wow. I don't know if I'm getting a gust or what. Oh, that was my aileron trim. It was all off and backwards. Alright, so we're looking good. So we're at 4,000. Start swinging it this way a little bit more. Should be able to pick up that radial. Actually, as a matter of fact, that radial's coming in right about now. So there it is. So we're pretty maxed out on our RPM percentage, so to get a little bit more torque in, we can just keep pulling some prop. So we're at 19 now. I really love this plane. This feels really nice. Really enjoy flying it. Okay, so right up in front of us, you're gonna see on the green ridge of mountains. You're gonna see a little valley in between those. Right there, just off the nose to the left. That's what we're gonna follow. We're gonna follow that ridge. That is the Katni Kaua Glacier. So we'll follow that one in. And gonna take it up there and land on the mountain. Interested to see how bumpy you'll end up getting when we get up there. Passing through 6. Alright. Everything's in the green. Fuel flow in the green. Looking good. So we're almost back on that radial. So the peak that's just right off of the left of the nose, about, I'd say 10 nautical miles down the glacier from there is where the base camp is. Pretty nice. If you go on the org store, there's a Denali base camp scenery for it. It's actually in a valley that is closer to the mountain, but the Alaska Air crew and the guy that makes the sceneries for the Alaska Air Virtual actually knows people, and it's found out that the airstrip is actually to the valley on the other side, literally a mile away. So that's where he placed his scenery. So there'll be two airports really within like a mile of each other up there. So hitting 8,000. Start slowing this ascent. Pull my props to 18. And we'll pull our flaps to cruise. And that nose really wanted to come down there. Okay. Alright, trying to get her all squared up. Still wanting to climb on me. Still climbing. So I do have a trim wheel set, manual trim wheel down here, and that's what I'm trimming out, like in real life right now. Just trimming her down and keep readjusting. As the airspeed goes up, the trim will need to be less. Really climbing now. Okay, so as advertised, right straight out in front of us, we're gonna be heading up by a glacier. Probably gonna have to take a detour to the left, just slightly. I'll show you the gap that I normally cross this in. Usually, this is the first time I'm flying this flight in the Turbo Otter. I've done this in the 182 or 185 a handful of times. So we're kind of blowing through our altitude. We're going to bring that back down, but you got to bring the power back down because we're over airspeed limits. You can see it down there at 140 indicated is really our limit. So I'll make sure we're not breaking that, but we're literally still climbing. Should have just dumped the flaps a lot sooner. It's coming down. I'll bring it down to 30 psi torque and trim it up just a little bit and let the airspeed bleed off. As usual, the landscape of Alaska, just absolutely stunning. Okay, so we're maintaining airspeed. We're descending at 500 feet, which is good. And all we need to do is really get down about another 300 and we're good. Not necessarily enough to clear the ridge. There's a spot where you can hit that you can cross over at about 85. So kind of just hang out right about here. The only reason I guess I'm going 85 is just because it was always a pain in the butt to get descended. Actually, you know what? This is the first time I've actually done this trip without ridiculous cloud level being, the ceiling being below the tops of the mountains. So makes for a very interesting flight. Like I said, this is the first time I think I've flown this flight with clear skies, which is not normal. So if I need it, I might go to 10.5 just to cross. But you know, an X-plane, you definitely, there's a little bit of an effect where the mountains in front of you definitely look like they're higher than they should be. It's kind of like an optical illusion. Like right now, it doesn't look like we'll cross over those, but I bet you just right of the big peak that's directly in front of us is where we're going. I will probably be able to pass over that at this altitude from what I remember. Because I know I didn't get into the 10,000s to fly this in the Cessna. Everything's still in the green. Yeah, the weather is definitely one of the significant players of how easy or difficult flying in Alaska is. If you're a person who likes flying real world weather and up for a challenge every once in a while, definitely take your shots at Alaska. Especially right now, it's still in the, you know, kind of starting the fall and ending summer, but I tell you what, in the winter, I had joined the Alaska Air Virtual group, I think in November of last year, and had X-Plane for about a year and a half at that point in time. Been flight simming before, but hadn't been as strict on it. But so I've had I've had X-Plane for now 2.5 years, just over 2 years, and have 3 crashes. Two, I would have survived. One, I didn't. That one and I didn't was in Alaska. And it was my first experience of actually getting icing to the point where I literally stalled right out of the air on an inbound approach, on approach to a Sitka, and I literally crashed about a mile from the end of the runway. So it was definitely even in the sim, you take your training seriously, and I'm trying to take it as serious as possible for real world flight PPL coming up when I start that back up. But when you take it seriously, it's kind of like it's like a realization of how simple of mistakes you can make, or taking the weather for granted can get you. So definitely kind of excited about getting back in the winter because it does present a whole new set of challenges for you. So I'm looking. There's that ridge right there. I'm looking at Sky Vector as we're talking here. So I'm pretty sure that I'm looking at the little V in the mountains. I don't know if my cursor's on stream. Yep, it is. Okay, so we're going right through here. And we'll be good. Beautiful. So, taking some hikers, dropping them off, and bringing some back to Talkeetna. It's pretty much the plan right now. Just can't, I don't know how I'm feeling. Let's see what time it is. Alright, 10:19. Yeah, I could probably do it. It's a little bit slower than I thought it was going to be on the flight, but we're good. Bump up the power a little bit. We did creep our way up to 9.5, which is somewhat illegal for going west, but definitely something I need to be more cognizant on is trimming to make sure I hold my altitudes. It's a little bit harder, I think, in the sim setup that I have than in real life, because you're getting that active feedback if you're descending or climbing. But beautiful shot of the glacier down there. Alright, so look alive, we're heading into the mountains. So if you have the one time that I came here where there's just absolute cloud cover, pretty much had like 1 mile visibility when I came in here the one time, but you have to go all the way around um, that way out there and follow a glacier all the way up. Pretty much skim right over the, you know, top of it. The airport elevation is about, or the airstrip, I would say, is right at about 8,000. So you can't really play around with it because I mean, this whole area will get completely saturated with cloud cover. So it's definitely not for the faint heart for in the real world for these pilots doing this. Right about here is when I normally start picking up some pretty good turbulence off the mountains. So we'll see if that plays a factor. But once we cross this ridge right in front of us, then we can start descending down and following the glacier around the corner. Should probably give you guys a nice little shot from outside. Let's make sure we don't run into a mountain while we're doing that. So again, we're looking for that radial. The radial is pretty much pointing at it, but I've been over this area a little bit enough that I see my point. Like I said, and once we get over this ridge, you'll see the glacier. We'll drop down into it and just ride that to the airport. I do want to double check. It's kind of one of those things where it would, you necessarily aren't going to get an altimeter here. There may be probably people that could radio the METAR, but more often than not, you're just going to have a general, or it's at 7,000 feet. So, it's rough. The Twin Otter surprisingly doesn't have a radar altimeter, but that's probably good hardware to have. Oh, look at gorgeous. Gorgeous. There's the tip right there. Alright, so we'll swing this way, make sure we're clear. Alright, so here's the straightaway. I'm going to use the descend down. I'll go by assuming that the weather, and I can confirm in an active sky, but I'm not going to look right now. I'll just use visual reference for landing, but I would assume that the barometric wouldn't change too much. So going by that it's at 7,000, if I descend down to 8, I should realistically be 1,000 over. Okay, so we're gonna go, we'll throw our prop in at 2,000. Just to have that in there. And I'm gonna drop down to about 20%. We don't have to go down very far if at 7,000 and we're gonna go down to 8. Only need to lose about 1,500 feet. Make sure you don't descend onto a mountain edge or rock. At this point in time, we're clear. So just to the left on the other side of this, we'll be there. All right, landing's on. There we go, we're starting to sink now. Alright, let's drop it down a little bit more. Alright, tail wheel lock is coming off. Back to tail wheel steering. Alright, right on the other side of this ridge right here is where we'll be at. Just trying to get all slowed down. So we're at almost 9.5. I'm gonna trim up, try to get rid of that airspeed. So I can throw some flaps in. Alright, landing lights are on, nav's on. Strobe can come off. Okay, so we're almost gonna drop down to flight idle. There's the edge of the runway, you can see it there. Alright, prop full. Okay, so let's pitch down for 80. We're a little bit high, but we'll get down, we'll slip it in. It is a stalled plane, so I'm not really worried about running long. This is a pretty long runway the way it's constructed, so it looks a lot longer. When I start seeing the scenery pop in, that's where I'm going to start setting my mark for where I'm going. It is an uphill slope. So, and I think there's one bump at the early first section. So you can see down at the very end some of the objects are starting to pop in. So I'm going to start flaring and I'm going to go long. We're still probably about 500 above. But I'm going to land down the runway a little bit so we're closer. Add power so you don't stall. Maintain that 70. There's the bump right there. I want to avoid that. And we're still right above it. And there we go. There's no way. That just robbed me. What is that one saying? And you will slide. I didn't realize that. So you really gotta... Wow, this is turning bad real quick. Let's take off. Take off and we'll come back. Because I don't want to get robbed on a landing rate. So I'm gonna land like really deep into that landing because it's a little bit flatter up at the top. That's what I'm gonna do. So you can see those bumps in there, and I don't remember them being that bad, but I guess they've gotten worse. See, it keeps wrecking me. That's so bad. Well, I might not even be able to log this flight with that high of a. Okay, so it recorded 342. So definitely, if you're flying on places, or definitely that's one of the reasons why you don't look at your feet per minute as being a guide of how well you did on landings, because when you're especially when you're doing uphill landings, and I remember that from Papua New Guinea, flying out there, as you know, the sloped runways, you're trying to land on them. I mean, obviously, you might need to maintain like a 500 feet per minute descent to match the terrain. So it's rating your descent, rate of descent, not necessarily your glare. I got the landing analysis plugin. Check that out. It's very interesting. Gives you a little bit more detail on what you did and gives you like a landing speed at touchdown, vertical feet per minute. See on here, it's reading a -1. Angle of descent 6 degrees. That was a pretty steep approach. Max ABS G forces. So 3.5 G's at 2. Comfort index. It gives a readout of comfort index. I've had a couple of greasers and they pretty much topped out at 80. So I don't know if that's the max for a comfort index. I don't know. Some people might know that. But we're here. We got the parking brake on. I'm just gonna stop that. All right. We'll file it and refresh flights. But I think that's all I'm going to stream. I might stream, or not stream, but record to keep the video short. Um, but this weekend I will be flying. Probably try to do a stream and then port it back over to YouTube. But if you want to catch a stream, check out GA Sim Pilot on Twitch. That's where I stream from. I'll kind of set some notices on there of when I might go, but definitely going to do some Alaska flying. Haven't flown a whole lot. I'm trying to get some flying in because I'm in Florida. We got a hurricane heading to us, and might be out of power by the end of the weekend, so might not be a whole lot of flying after that. So I hope everybody enjoyed the beautiful scenery and terrain. Take a little parting shot. And this is why I just love flying here now. There you go. So thank you all for checking this out. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe, and you can you know, get notified on all my other videos that I do. And thanks for watching. GSM Pilot is out.